Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange, and the host who might be a ghost. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual literature that I have found in my travels from Syracuse to Ephesus. That'll make sense in a few moments. So today I want to talk about a play that I read. Yes, you heard me. I said a play. The play is the thing, as someone once said. So yeah, I haven't really read a play. In fact, I don't come across many plays in my travels through the weird. Mainly just because not a lot of people talk about plays like just for sitting down and reading. I should try to do more of that, just because plays can be interesting and they can be especially unusual. But yeah, so I found another play by William Shakespeare. This one focuses on, mistaken identities and, beating your servant for the mistakes that they may or may not have committed. I am talking about A Comedy of Errors, which I read on my Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy to show you. In the past, I did read Shakespeare, in high school and in college, but also, as recently as July, I think it was, or June, where I read The Tempest, and I talked about how I didn't really like it. It had a weird premise, not a very good plot, and it didn't seem like there was much that Shakespeare had to say. He just told a story, and it kind of went nowhere. But the boys at Codex Cantina and Noah from Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse, they were like, hey, you should give Shakespeare another chance. He's not that bad, although, The Tempest was one of his last plays, and, he might have been checked out, which makes a lot of sense, Yeah, I can just see Shakespeare writing it and just being like, you know what, who cares what happens, just write a bunch of gibberish. I can't wait to go to California and live out my days there. So yeah, I think, it might have been the case that The Tempest was, not very important to him, and it's just him saying goodbye and doing a very weird, metaphor thing going on there. But yeah, I did decide to give Shakespeare another chance. I recently read Comedy of Errors in between my breaks of thinking about the dangers of smoke inhalation, because fires are raging across Washington state right now. And there's a bunch of smoke in my area, and it's not fun. Some of it gets inside, and there's this constant threat of is my throat itchy because of the smoke, or is it itchy because of the virus? It's definitely the former, not so much the latter. So trying to keep away from the smoke so it doesn't do much worse than just scratch my throat. And I had a good time with A Comedy of Errors. I definitely, there wasn't a lot to it, and a lot of critics have noted that too, that there's not a lot of themes underlying A Comedy of Errors, which can be a problem for any book. If you don't have something to say, or if you don't connect the book together in some way, especially if your book is aimed at adults. It could be a problem, but I think it works here, mainly because Shakespeare's intent seems to be to entertain rather than have a good old fashioned tragedy tale and try to say something about the dangers of jealousy or of family rivalries. So I had a good time, and I would like to talk about A Comedy of Errors today. Provide a little summary, a little analysis, and we will move on from there. A Comedy of Errors starts with Aegon, I believe it is, talking to Duke Silenus. Silenus is wondering why Aegon is there, because he is a merchant from Syracuse, and they are in Ephesus right now. Where if you're a merchant from Syracuse, you're going to get in a lot of trouble because they're at war or something like that. So Aegon ends up telling Silenus about his the tragedy in his life, how he had twin children with a woman, and in turn they managed to pick up twin servants, which is like a weird coincidence, but okay. But sadly, those two twins and the servants were separated at birth, and Aegon believes that they might be in asbestos, so he's gonna look for them and try to reunite with his family. And so that's pretty much the end of the kind of prologue thing. You have the story then begins with Antipholus and Dromio of Syracuse, and I was wondering why it said of Syracuse at first, and then we got to later in the book where it was like Antipholus and Dromio of Asbestos, and I'm glad that they that Shakespeare, or like the copy I got, like they made an attempt to they made an attempt to differentiate between the two. So I'll try to differentiate, but if I mess up, I'll probably edit it in here, or, you'll just have to read and find out yourself. Antipholus and Dromio of Syracuse are in Asbestos, and I think either they're looking for Aegon or they're just in the city to be in the city. Antipholus sends Dromio off on some errand, and then like a couple minutes later, Dromio shows up again, and Antipholus is like, "Did you do the errand I sent you on? Where's the gold that I gave you?" And Dromio is like, "What gold? I'm here to take you to dinner at your house with your wife." And Antipholus is like, "I don't have a wife. I don't know what you mean, because this is Dromio of Asbestos." Antipholus believes that Dromio is being a little being a jerk, so he just starts beating Dromio, which is a common theme throughout the book. And I will admit, it's pretty funny. Like beating servants in real life isn't funny at all. Like, don't beat the help. Don't beat slaves. Don't beat anybody. That's bad. But in this book, it's pretty funny because it's a running gag. How Dromio does, he's not, he doesn't know what's happening, and yet he still gets beaten. He remarks on it throughout the book. Much of the rest of the acts just deal with this big case of mistaken identity, where people think they're talking to Antipholus of Syracuse or Asbestos, and Dromio of Syracuse or Asbestos. And the Syracusan Antipholus is mistaken for the Asbestos one, and so he goes to see his wife, and he's like, "I'm not sure if I know you or not. You're kind of confusing to me," and he ends up falling for I believe it's Adriana's sister, Lucerne, I believe is her name. So he that's pretty weird. But it also doesn't help that Adriana believes her Antipholus to be cheating on her. So the fact that he's pretending he doesn't know her, it's like, what the hell is going on? This is quite unusual. At one point, Angelo, a merchant, has agreed to sell the Antipholus of Asbestos a chain, and he ends up giving it to the one from Syracuse. And he comes back later to the one from Asbestos, and it's like, "Where's my money? I gave you this chain." And he's like, I don't recall any such chain. And there's a big hubbub, and the police end up taking him to jail, which confuses everyone involved. Eventually, they all meet up at the jail, and because the Syracusan, Antipholus, and Dromio are very confused and kind of worried that this city might be filled with witches who are out to get them, they hide in a priory. Don't quite know what that is. I think it might be an abbey of some sort. I'll say if that's correct or not, but it's so they hide out there, and Aegon shows up, and the other Antipholus shows up, and everyone kind of gets it's a bit of a mistaken identity. So they're all reunited, and they have a great time, and that's the end of the story. All's well that ends well. Wink. So anyway, that was a comedy of errors by William Shakespeare. Not too heavy on the themes like the critics. Again, I noted that earlier, that a lot of the critics noted that it didn't have strong themes, and it's mainly intended to be funny. And I don't think that's a bad thing. As I said earlier, because it's so funny, and because it holds up throughout the entire story, and you really want to know are they gonna eventually meet both Antipholus? Is Aegon gonna find his children? I think it's it keeps you there, like in terms of drama and intrigue and hilarity. Not too heavy on the drama because everything is kind of made out to be a joke, but it is pretty like serious in some ways, which I think make it like very interesting to continue to read. So like instead of themes, maybe there's a running gag of Dromio being very confused and having to suffer through these constant beatings that Antipholus is providing to him. Both Dromios of Syracuse and Aspasis. And one of my favorite parts is when he's talking with Adriana and Luciana at the Aspasis house. Dromio's like, I'm not sure what's going on. I think Antipholus might actually be going crazy. And I have a good quote right here that I would like to provide you. So, why, mistress? Sure my master is horn mad. Horn mad, thou villain? I mean not cuckold mad, but sure, he is stark mad. When I desired him to come home to dinner, he asked me for 1,000 marks in gold. 'Tis dinner time, quoth I. My gold, quoth he. Your meat doth burn, quoth I. My gold, quoth he. Will you come home, quoth I. My gold, quoth he. Where is the 1,000 marks I gave thee, villain? The pig, quoth I, is burned. My gold, quoth he. My mistress, sir, quoth I. Hang up thy mistress. I know not thy mistress. Out of thy mistress. There you have Dromio getting at the confusion and the idea that Antipholus might actually be going mad because he doesn't even remember that he has a wife, and he keeps asking for gold even though his dinner is burning. And surely the original Antipholus probably of Aspasis asked for dinner first. So like, why is he suddenly asking for gold or about gold that like Dromio has no idea about, at least this version of Dromio. So I really like that, and I really think like the way it's written and Dromio's lines there are pretty hilarious and pretty like interesting how it's written. Like Dromio's pretty much talking about a conversation, and he's doing it's a back and forth that I think works pretty well. Another thing that I like about this play that I haven't really seen in other Shakespeare plays. It might be some plays that I haven't read yet, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough in the plays that I have read. But there are some lines that are like single lined that rhyme with another character's next line, which I think is fun. And it kind of comes off like puns. Like one character is saying something, and then another character replies in a manner that's funny, or it kind of utilizes wordplay. An example of this is Adrian and Luciana. When they're talking about marriage and why Luciana isn't in a marriage yet, which I thought was pretty funny. And then Dromio refusing to let Antipholus and to the house, the real Antipholus who lives in Ephesus. I'll provide an example here. Who talks within there? Ho, open the door. Right, sir, I'll tell you when, and you tell me wherefore. Wherefore? For my dinner. I have not dined today. Nor today. Here you must not. Come again when you may. What art thou that keepest me out from the house I owe? The porter for the time, sir, and my name is Dromio. And then the other Dromio chimes in that, like, you've stolen my office and my name. Who are you? And, like, at that point, Dromio should recognize that, like, there's another Dromio present. But I think Dromio is a very stupid character. And the fact that he sees someone who looks vaguely like him doesn't really surprise him one bit, suggesting that he doesn't really look at himself. Or maybe that the people in Shakespearean times did not have mirrors, to be exact. Again, that was A Comedy of Errors by William Shakespeare, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I recommend that you go out and read it. I read it on my Kindle. I couldn't find a physical copy, as I said before, but I'm sure there are a number of places for you to find an educational copy of A Comedy of Errors, especially because it's in the public domain. So yeah, I would say I more thoroughly enjoyed that than The Tempest, because The Tempest felt kind of pointless, and this one, like, it's entertaining, and like I think it's telling an interesting story. Although when I first read it, I was like, well, this has been done before, Mistaken Identity, Twins, Freaky Friday, or not Freaky Friday, I'm sorry, the other Lindsay Lohan movie, The Parent Trap, a whole bunch of other movies where twins, confused their parents in some sort of way. But then I realized, this happened before all of that. So this might be the first fictional example of the mistaken identity. Although I do think that Greek tragedies probably beat Shakespeare to the punch. Although this might be the first one that's used for comedic purposes rather than to just kill off a Greek hero of some sort. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me below in the comments, because I'm always willing to learn. So again, that was A Comedy of Errors, which I enjoyed and I recommend. If you read this before, you want to dispute something I said, feel free to comment below. I would love to hear from you and have a discussion about Shakespeare, especially a Shakespeare play that I enjoyed, rather than one that I felt to be rather blah, like The Tempest. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that we can get Shakespeare out to the masses. It's already out to the masses, but we'll get it out to the masses through me, a channel, what's the word that I'm looking for? I'll put it up there. I keep forgetting words today. Otherwise, I wish you the best of times in your weird and mistaken identity travels. Farewell.